Hey guys, welcome to the Massive Iron Channel. I'm Steve Shaw, editorial director at TigerFitness.com, also known as the Big Hairy Ugly Dude. Guess what, guys? I actually lift. I actually lift things called barbells and dumbbells. I actually pick them up and put them down and try to train for progressive resistance. So complicated, but it works. Guys, in this video, I want to talk about deadlifting. Can you deadlift more than once a week? If someone wants to deadlift more than once a week, how do I recommend doing so? I have spent quite a bit of time during the last 4 years deadlifting multiple times per week, and I've learned a lot. So listen up. You can take my advice. It'll probably help you out, and it'll help you avoid some of the pitfalls that I experience when trying to deadlift frequently. Now, the first thing I found out is that if you want to deadlift more than once a week, you probably shouldn't be pulling from the floor more than once a week. What do I mean? Well, you could go in on a Monday and do floor pulling, and then if you went back on Thursday and wanted to do more deadlifts, it would probably be more beneficial to do something like a rack pull from right below the knee with a power shrug combination for a little bit more rep work than compared to your Monday workout. What I found is that when I pulled from the floor frequently, it really provided no additional benefit compared to when I just pulled from the floor once a week. When I added variations in and started pulling from above the knees, or added power shrug combinations, so on and so forth, I found that my deadlift progressed a little bit, more smoothly. So I really found no benefit from pulling from the floor multiple times per week. Along that line, I also found out that it was never beneficial for me personally to pull above 90%, of my 1 rep max. What I would typically do is when I started this program, I would work about 87% of my 1 rep max, do a single. When it felt manageable, I'd start working up to maybe a double, maybe a triple, and I'd stick with doubles and triples, and sometimes just the occasional single if I felt fatigued. When I tried to work above 90% of my 1 rep max for extended periods of time, it provided little benefit. And doing so multiple times per week, really all I experienced was a lot of lat fatigue. I had a point in time where I deadlifted 2 to 3 times per week, around 90, maybe 92.5%, and I just experienced a lot of lat fatigue. By the 3rd day of the week, I really wasn't as confident. My lats felt off, and I just wasn't confident pulling with that weight because I felt a little bit weak and off. So if you want to pull multiple times per week, I definitely don't recommend pulling at all above 90% of your 1 rep max. Now, there's a couple different ways you can structure a program if you're going to train the deadlift multiple times per week. You could do, and I recommend 2 days per week. I see no benefit from pulling 3 days per week. I tried that for many months, and it really didn't work any better. In fact, pulling 2 days per week worked better for me. So I would start there. I would run that for a while and just see how it works. So 2 days per week. You might start with Monday. If you're going to do floor pulls, do your floor pulls on like a Monday. Again, don't work above 90%. Come back on, say, a Thursday. That gives you, balanced recovery time. And do something like a low rack pull, power shrug combination. You want to do more rep work on Thursday. So these are different styles of movements. The low rack pulls aren't as hard on the lower back, and you get some variations in. One of the other things you can do if you want to do more low pulling and you don't want to do a lot of power shrugs, which is okay. I still recommend some power shrugs or some shrugs in some form or variation. But if you don't want to do that sort of thing and you want to pull closer to the floor, work in variations. I worked a lot between 3-inch pulls, 5-inch pulls, and 7-inch pulls. So I would rotate these pulls. So if you want to pull multiple times per week, keep that weight down under 90% of your 1 rep max and try maybe a 3-inch block pull on Monday, a 7-inch on Thursday. Then the next week, you could do a 5 and 7, then go back to 3 and 7, 5 and 7, or you could just do 3, 5, 7, 3, 5, 7, whatever. You can rotate between heights. Make sure when you're pulling like this multiple times per week that you don't overkill the volume, that you don't overkill the volume of reps. I've found that the deadlift really doesn't, working excessive amounts of reps per day, like say over 10, I really haven't found that to be beneficial for the deadlift. Now, this isn't a rule or law that will apply to everyone. I'm not saying you should never do more than 10 reps per day when training, you know, multiple times per week. I just personally found that there was little benefit. I found the biggest benefit was just training smart, getting under the bar, working on my form, and getting confident with weights about 80 to 90% of my 1 rep max. So I wouldn't overkill the volume. Deadlift is one lift I've found over the years that has never benefited from more volume. Occasionally, I'll do something crazy and do a higher volume day with maybe 50%, 60% of my 1 rep max, but did that impact my deadlift in the long run? I really don't know. So guys, hope this video has been of some help. If you have any questions or comments, guys, there's a Q&A link below. Come on over, post your questions in that Q&A link. I answer every question posted. And if you've made it this far in this video and have yet to subscribe to my channel, please do. I would appreciate the support. So guys, as always, thanks for watching. Have a great day. I had to sneak in a bicep shot, you know, somewhere along the line of the video just to let you guys know I actually lift.